how does somebody like that go about tailoring their resume to tell a coherent story?
But I had a backup plan, which I feel everyone should have a backup plan
To make that jump between an analyst to a program manager, so how did you go about doing that?
having those conversations. You understand what is the expectation.
What are some strategies or things that you did that worked for you?
All of a sudden, I have everything. It feels like that.
Welcome to the Ready Set Do podcast, where we discuss remarkable stories by regular people. My guest for this episode is Pragya Sinha. Pragya is a technical program manager at Amazon. She's just started this position, which means she managed to get hired despite the current tech job market in the US. Anybody who is currently applying for jobs or has been any time in this past year knows what an unforgiving time it has been in the US for tech jobs. This is perhaps even more so for international students, with considerations around visa, sponsorship, etc., in addition to the actual job finding. The reason I requested Pragya to speak with me today is because she's proven that despite the extremely challenging times, it is in fact possible to still get hired for your dream position. We begin our discussion by what prompted Pragya to move to the US and how she was able to select the course that she studied. Internships are an extremely important way to kickstart your professional career in the US, and so we go over some common pitfalls that most students in the US face. We then discuss Pragya's remarkable journey since she graduated across three different positions, finally culminating with her ending up as a program manager for Amazon. We deep dive into how to make that jump from analyst and associate positions to that of a manager. We discuss tools, strategies, best practices pertaining to job applications, interviews, networking on LinkedIn, and everything in between. Finally, Pragya walks us through the grueling 5-hour loop interview style process at Amazon for some of their techno-management roles. Whether you are currently in the market looking for a job or are just somebody that's looking to make that switch to a techno-management position, I think this conversation will be extremely beneficial for you. As always, the podcast is timestamped both here and on Spotify for your ease of navigation to the section of your choice. Finally, in keeping with the theme of learning from somebody that's just two steps ahead of you instead of a full blown expert, our discussion is centered around the anec-data that demonstrably worked for Pragya. That is not to say that a different approach is wrong or incorrect, because indeed there are a lot of ways to, in fact, get a job. My goal is to merely highlight how Pragya was able to get the job of her dreams and what you can potentially do to get yours. So now, without further ado, my conversation with Pragya. Pragya, welcome and thank you for joining me today. For our listeners, Pragya and I were colleagues at PwC for a brief while before I left the company and India to pursue my master's in the US. Shortly thereafter, Pragya also followed a similar path in that she pursued her master's in information systems from Texas A&M University in Texas. Well, obviously in Texas.
Yeah.
Pragya, did you want to kick us off by talking us through what made you pursue or what made you want to pursue your master's from the US?
Hi, Naman. Thank you for having me here. What made me decide to pursue MIS, which is Management Information Systems? You are one of the reasons for that.
Okay.
I mean, when I joined PwC, there were a lot of people around me. You were one of them
Mhm.
who was going for a master's, and I was also planning to pursue a
Mhm.
degree, a higher degree, and I felt I wanted to experience what's the best the world has to offer, and
Mhm.
I wanted to explore the job that I was doing over there, working as a consultant. And I have a tech background. I have a electrical and electronics engineering degree from VIT University, Vellore. Looking at my background and my interest while working at PwC, I thought the best way to go about it is to find a degree that's a mix of both business and tech.
Mhm.
Based on those criterias, and you were going for an MEM degree, right? And I
Mhm.
had seen what you were looking at and stuff.
Mhm.
And I had then I went out went on LinkedIn, networked with a few people, and
Mhm.
talking to them, I decided that MIS is the right fit for me based on my background and my interest. Yeah.
Got it. So a question that I get recurringly from students over the years, especially those in India that are, just starting to consider a path that, takes them to the US for their masters, is that
Yeah.
generally it seems to me that there's two ways that people think about it. It's either the more tech intensive courses
Mhm.
versus, the more techno-management type courses.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts on what somebody can think in terms of considerations that would make either of those two paths better suited for them? So in your case, you mentioned that the techno management side of things, it felt like it was more suited to your experience and
Yes.
what you wanted to get at. So what are just some questions that a student can ask themselves when they're trying to figure out which way might be better? Because it seems to me that there's a lot of analysis paralysis that goes on with
Mhm.
it, just because there's all, it seems like an infinite number of courses to
Mhm.
choose from. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it all comes down to what where your interest lies. There
Mhm.
are a lot of people who love coding and they love writing codes and working with all the new tech that's coming in.
Mhm.
And if you also have the background to support that, if you come from a computer science background and you're actually interested in it, it's an internal process. I feel it's not an external thing because it's a degree that's going to stay with you, and
Mhm.
you're going to build a career out of it basically. So it
Yeah.
should be something that you're interested in, not just because everyone is doing it, do it. But if you're actually interested in it, that's the path you should go to forward with.
Mhm.
I think you need, it's a introspection, I feel.
Got
is
it.
is that is that where you want to be? Is the tech?
Mhm. Yeah, that I think that makes sense to me because me personally, yeah, I also studied engineering management, which I'm sure you know, but is for our listeners, that's exactly
Yeah.
what it sounds like. It's just a course that teaches you to manage other engineers. So yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is that really it's just a decision of whether you want to stay focused on tech, especially around software, usually
Hmm.
is the way people go, or if you want to maybe take a step back and be involved with a more higher bird's eye view kind
Yeah.
of things. So that brings me to I'm sure you apply to a few places, and this is another point of contention that comes up
Hmm.
often, which is that there's again an infinite number of colleges or
Yeah.
universities to apply to. So what was your process of once you had determined that you wanted to study MIS?
Hmm.
How did you go about, I guess, shortlisting or
Yeah. So what I did was the first thing was I went on the internet, found the list,
Mhm.
like all high ranking courses for MI. Once I did, so it started with, okay, I want to do my masters. Then I decided,
Mhm.
okay, in what field I want to do my
Mhm.
masters. And once I had decided that, the thing I did was to find the good colleges and the courses that was offered by them. Then I
Mhm.
had a list. I had a Excel sheet for that. I i had what were the subjects they were offering, the electives, kind of academic courses that they offered, also the electives, what was, if they had any partnership with other,
Mhm.
like, I was applying for MIS, so many of these colleges had partnership with Deloitte and PwC and stuff like that. So looking at those partnership, and then also looking at the alumni, what they're
Mhm.
doing currently, and because if you're paying so much, you want something in return, right? So that
Totally.
was also
Mhm.
one of the criteria. So I think the criterias that I had was how well recognized the courses, what is the academic courses they're offering, if they aligned with what I was looking for, the kind of faculties and professors they had, and then ROI basically.
Mhm.
And looking
Absolutely.
at
Yeah.
the alumni, judging from what the
Right.
current alumni are doing, based on that,
Mhm.
and finding what does the ROI look like. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think those are all super helpful factors. And personally, I feel like, yeah, I don't think my research was as detailed as yours was. It sounds like, but those are, I think, really good pointers to keep in mind when, I guess, somebody is, trying to decide which university. So from that, I want to, I guess, delve a little bit on what was your experience like in the, as a student in the US? And I think it would make sense for us to look at it through three lenses. The
Mhm.
first being just academics, second, any extracurricular activities, and then third, just social life in general. What were some things that, in retrospection, stand out to you in terms of your experience as a student,
Uh-huh.
master's student in the US?
Okay. Okay. So I feel my experience had been life changing. It's a big word, I know, but it has been life changing. Uh, Coming to US, you are leaving all the comfort and you're here pursuing a degree with. When you're back home in India, you have so much support, and all of a sudden, all of the support is it's not there. You have to build. You're in a completely different land. You do not know the culture. You do not know how people. Even if you think you know it, like back in India, I used to feel like I know what's what's happening in the US, right? But when I landed here, I was like, oh my god, there's so much to learn. The
Mhm.
ground, it's not just the courses that you have to do your. You have to maintain your social life as well
Mhm,
as
mhm.
have this. Even the personal chores that you have to do, like you have to
Mhm.
have your groceries, you have to cook food
Yeah,
for yourself, you have to sustain yourself. So first semester was really hectic for me, I feel. It's the time, it's the phase where you're going through a lot
Mhm.
of changes and you are adjusting to a new environment completely. uh, the course load seems heavy in the start because you don't know how you we are not conditioned to learn that way. In India, it's
Yeah,
more about exams. Over here, it's more about assignments and doing case studies and doing. It's more well-rounded classes over here, which I was not used to.
right.
So adjusting to those classes and then also this environment. First semester, I did not have a part time as well because I
Mhm.
was not actively looking for it, and
You
that
mean
was
a
the
part-time student employment, I'm assuming?
yes, as
Yeah,
a student
gotcha.
employee. I had received a scholarship for Texas A&M.
Okay.
I had a scholarship. So I came on a scholarship and I was not working for the first semester. So
Mhm.
and I was so much involved in my coursework in the first semester
Mhm.
that I did not venture out, which I feel I
Yeah.
should have done. I mean, I could have started working as a graduate assistant or some other
Mhm.
student worker position from the start. That's something I think about right now. But then
Mhm.
coming to the second semester, I knew what was happening. I was more aligned to everything. I applied to a few graduate assistant position and I was able to receive one of them as well. So that was also that helped me pay my bills and have a social life.
I see.
Yeah.
Is there a process for attaining a scholarship, or is that just something you need to ask for separately? Can you just walk us through how that whole thing works with the scholarship?
Yeah. At Texas A&M, the scholarship process was you did not have to do anything other than that. There was just a form where you mentioned that
Okay.
yes, you're looking for a scholarship,
Okay.
and the scholarship was awarded on based on what you write in your SOP and your
Okay.
GRE scores and everything. Basically, your whole portfolio as a whole is
Right.
considered, and
Mhm.
based on that, you're offered a scholarship or if you know. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So awesome. And then I know you interned for a brief amount of time. Was it just a summer internship or was that longer? But I guess my question was that what were some things or what are some things
Mhm.
that students that are just starting out their various courses, especially master's courses
Mhm.
in the US, should keep in mind while looking for internships? Because as somebody that did an internship myself, mine was a co-op, so mine actually lasted a
Okay.
whole year while I was in college. But I know I definitely found or learned things much later that would have helped me a lot more had I known them in time. And I'm assuming you likely had a similar experience. So I'm curious to know, yeah, what are some pitfalls that are very commonly prevalent, but also those that can be avoided by somebody that is currently seeking out internships or
Mhm.
trying to build their I guess their career really in the US, because an internship is really your first foot in the door when it comes to
Mhm.
establishing a professional career in the US.
I agree. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Totally agree with you. I did intern. It was a summer internship, so it was a
Okay.
smaller internship. I interned from June to August, so it was a 3 months internship.
Mhm.
I interned at Rexel as an IT analyst,
Okay.
And yeah, some of the pitfalls that I faced were I started applying really late. So
Okay.
I joined the course in August, and I was eligible to do an internship in a year,
Hmm.
because I'm on F1, and then you can work on CPT after
Yeah.
a year. So
No, that's helpful context. Yeah,
yes, yes,
totally.
yes. Yeah. So all the big companies like Microsoft, all the FANG companies, they have their internship open in the very initial few months. Like by end of
Mm.
September, Google closes all its internship positions because they decide way earlier what they want, who they want to offer their
Got
positions
it.
to. So I came here in August. I landed in US on 21st August 2021, and all the internships closes for big companies by end of September October. And by
Wow.
that time I wasn't applying to a lot of
Right.
companies because I did not have my resume in
Mm.
place. I was still figuring out how to apply, because
Absolutely.
you just landed, you don't know how you have to apply, how you approach different people. I was not in India. It's all about companies coming to your college, right?
Right.
You have to take all the actions. You have to basically be the
Right.
person who's taking all the actions for yourself. And
Absolutely.
that was a change that I was still adjusting to. And I saw that a lot of internships has already closed by then.
Hmm.
So I feel whoever is planning to come to the US should have this mindset back in India, that it's a war, and you have to be prepared for it. So be come with that mindset that okay, you have to apply early to get a good
Hmm.
internship. If you want to
Yeah,
have a good internship, apply early
got it.
is the biggest advice I can give.
I see. So going back to your point on how obviously it's such a huge transition period, you've literally uprooted your
Mhm.
life and find yourself in a new country trying to build that life from scratch. Would you say there's things that could be done while a student is still in India, like before they've even flown to the US,
Mhm.
that would help with, fast tracking their applications, be it just maybe just starting to network on LinkedIn, look at their
Mhm.
resume, get, their internal house in order, so to speak?
Mhm.
Or do you think all of that is mostly best suited to be done once they're already in the US?
I think in retrospect that now that I'm talking retrospect, I feel it can be done from India, but I understand,
Mm.
like I totally understand, when you're in India, you're working for to get that visa, to get that
Mhm.
loan, to
That's
get
true.
you're packing, you're uprooting your life, as you said.
Yeah.
I know it's easier said than done, but if you have the time, I feel you can do that from India. You can definitely reach out to so many people and actually get a sense of what the market looks like, how you go about it, and you can start working on your resume if you have that time, and if you have the mental clarity from the start. It's easier for you. So if you are someone who's that proactive, because I know I wasn't, because I wasn't aware. I wasn't that
Yeah.
aware.
Yeah. That's a very
Yeah,
real problem,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
that is, I know majority of the people out there are like me,
Right.
and we people
Absolutely.
like me was so busy with so many other things that was happening at that time, that we could not have thought about creating that resume and networking before you're here. So but if you can do it, I mean, that's great.
Absolutely. That that it's funny you mentioned that because it a story comes to mind when I first got here. We had a from Purdue. It was I obviously well, not obviously, but for our listeners, I went to Purdue. I studied engineering management, and
Uh-huh.
our in our first month there, we had a industry resume review session
Mhm.
essentially, where they got in a couple managers from a few different companies on
Yep.
campus to just review and look at resumes and offer advice. And I'll never forget showing up to that event with the resume I had at the time. And suffice to say, I don't think I've felt more embarrassed ever in my life again. It's almost being shown a mirror that's, just a really rude reflection of yourself. And yeah, I'll never forget when the person just kind of just looked at me and he honestly felt confused. And I don't blame him because yeah, my resume wasn't structured properly. I did not use any power verbs. None of it was, now knowing the things that I know and the knowing the things that you know now. Yeah, it was definitely a huge climb up for me. But having said that, I do realize that if I had been given access to, that expertise, or just have
Mm.
somebody tell me that, yeah, this is really not going to cut it. You need to do better, and here's how you can do better. I
Yeah.
feel like I would have benefited immensely from that. So I
Yeah.
think, I kind of agree with your point that while it can be hard, it is definitely doable, or at least it makes sense to start
Mhm.
thinking about those things in terms of, yeah, what changes can I make to my resume? Who can I connect with? What
Mhm.
is something that I can do right now that might benefit me, 6 months or 1 year down the line? So that's awesome. So with that, do you kind of want to walk us through? Because I know when we were connecting offline, I was very shocked to hear how things panned out for you post graduation with your job search. And it sounds like I'm very interested for you to kind of go over, yeah, just the wild set of events that unfolded for
It
you
has
personally.
been, it has been a crazy ride, yeah. And I totally agree with your resume comment as well. If you see my first resume and the resume that I
Mhm.
have right now, oh my god, the first resume will not make it anywhere.
Yeah, it's tough. No, it's tough.
It's
Totally.
yeah. Coming to the second part, yeah, it has been a while, right? So I graduated with my master's degree in May 2023.
Okay, so just
And
this past year.
yes, yes, just past year, yes.
Hmm?
So the market wasn't, my internship did not convert into a full time,
Gotcha.
and I was still looking for a full time job. So yeah, as a student on an F1 visa, we have to apply for an EAD,
Mhm.
and there has been a change in the EAD process. So my EAD also took a really long time to come.
Mhm.
So I was not eligible to work till August because I received my EAD on, I believe, on 20th August. So I had those 3 months to find a job, and it,
Wow.
I was applying to a lot of places. I was not getting the right response. I mean, first you have to perfect. I think I needed to understand that it's not just about getting your resume shortlisted, but also clearing that interview, because
Mhm.
I focused so much on building that resume, building getting that interview, and I had not prepared well enough for the interview, so I was not able to clear those. So there was a gap between those two factors, and then I but
Gotcha.
I had a backup plan, which I feel you everyone should have a backup plan.
Okay.
I worked as a research analyst with one of the professor at my university. It
Got
was
it.
it directly aligned with the kind of role I was looking for. It
Mhm.
was in the business corporate strategy domain. So the
Okay.
research work was actually helping me build my profile. So that is one of the backup that I had. And while working as a research analyst, I was also looking for jobs actively.
Right.
Then I was able to find a program manager position at Texas A&M University. It was a
Okay.
full-time position,
Okay.
and in October I had that opportunity.
So
So
is that the same as an RA position, or is there a difference between what you were doing before versus this new
mhm,
position that you referenced?
it was a different position. The RA was under a professor, and this program manager position
Was under the
was
university.
under the university. Yeah,
Got it.
it was under the commercial banking program offered by
Okay.
Mace Business School. So
And can I
I-
ask how you found that? Was it just via networking, or some a friend told you, or how did you come across that position?
so at Texas A&M, you have this internal workday where you can apply for different jobs. And as I was looking for a job as a full time job
Mhm.
at that point, I applied through Workday as an internal
Mhm.
applicant, and I was able to get the interview. Then I met the person, and like I gave that interview in person. So I
Okay.
went and met him, my last manager,
Mhm.
and I was able to get that job. So that's how we went
Okay.
about that. But at the same time, when I was applying for this job, I got a interview call from Amazon as well. And
Oh,
it was early October. And Amazon has a rigorous interview process. So they
okay.
start with a assessment, then they have has a interview with the HR, then there's an interview with the hiring manager. And then there are like five different interviews, a loop interview, which is with the
Hmm.
team, and a bar raiser. So I applied for a program manager position at Amazon as well.
Okay.
So I'm talking specifically about the
Right.
position that I applied for, which
Got
was
it.
the PM position at Amazon. Uh, I interviewed it. The process took me around a month for Amazon.
Wow.
Started interviewing in October. I was done with all my interviews in by end of October. Uh, then I received a call that they have filled the position, and
Uh,
I know they had some internal,
wow.
yeah, but they were really impressed with my interview, and they said they would love to consider me for a position that opens up in the
Huh.
future. I was more than interested in it, and I had actually started working at Texas A&M as well at this time.
Mhm.
And then these big companies, there was no communication from Amazon for a month, so I lost hope. I was not hoping
Right.
that
Understandably,
yeah, I was not
yeah.
hoping that Amazon is gonna reach out again,
Mm.
because they said they would and they did not. So there was a 1 month ghosting for me. So I was like, all right, and I started applying for other positions as well.
Okay.
Fortunately, I was able to get that job. I applied for a project manager position at a company in Houston. I
Okay.
was all set to join that company. I got that offer. I was all set. I was mentally prepared to move to Houston, work for that company, everything. So I planned this New York trip at the end of New Year. So
Okay.
I was about to go for this trip, and I get this email from Amazon that we have a position. Would you be interested? I was
Wow.
like, why would I not be? Like, okay,
Right.
why not? So
Yeah.
they
Okay.
again,
Wow.
yeah. So it was not. They again, then they did have an interview for me with the hiring manager, which happened in January, and I interviewed and I got the job. So yeah,
Finally, about time. It only took what, 3 months?
2 months, October to January, that's it. That's it. I got the job. And once I got the job, so they wanted me to move from Texas to Seattle in
Okay.
like a week. And I was not even mentally prepared for that. And they were looking for someone who can join like immediately. And I had not thought about it. I was going on a trip. I
Right.
had another job offer. I was working at a company at A&M. I had to give that
Mhm.
notice period.
Mhm.
And then I blinked my eyes. I am in Seattle right now. I mean,
Wow.
the transition has been crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that is quite the story that you've had there.
Yeah.
And there's pieces of that I kind of want to drill down into. The first one really being that it seems to me that there is a decent amount of confusion around. So essentially, once you're on your EAD, I know there's a unemployment clock essentially in terms
Yes.
of days that starts ticking down, and I think
Mhm.
it's 90 days.
Yes.
If you're still unemployed after 90 days, it's time for you to leave the country.
Yeah.
So, and I also know that there's only certain RA or TA positions that can be used towards stopping that clock, so to speak. So, are there any considerations around that you're aware of? Because there does seem to be a good amount of confusion around how some RA positions will be enough, but some won't be. Is that true at all, or what are some things that one needs to know before going down that route?
Mhm.
That whether like by the time that you're applying for jobs on this site, how do you stop that
Mhm.
your unemployment clock essentially?
think I think a lot of RA positions are valid to stop the clock.
Okay.
At least in your first year on OPT, you are
Hmm.
eligible to work on a volunteer position. After first year, you cannot work on a volunteer position. But in the first year,
Okay.
you are eligible to work for a
So
volunteer
you're saying
position.
on the STEM extension,
STEM
one is not.
extension, yes.
Okay.
On OPT,
Got it.
you can. On STEM extension, you cannot. So I
I
feel
see.
the confusion over here is because of STEM extension and just the
Hmm.
regular first year OPT.
I see.
In the first year, I feel, according to the research I have done, 20 hours is considered a full time. Anything above 20 hours is considered full time, and
Right,
you
above
are
20 hours,
yeah.
yeah.
And any RA position with your university, if you're getting an offer letter for that, and if it's
Mhm.
approved by the professor, I feel is a valid
Right.
position because I went to my international student services department and I had clarified this doubt with them.
Got it.
So anything above 20 hours, you must have a valid offer letter. Your
Hmm.
professor should be giving out the offer
Yeah,
letter to you. And
absolutely.
if you have the right documentation, and I feel that is a
Mhm.
valid position to stop the clock.
Makes
It's
sense.
not
And it sounds like a general good rule of thumb on this would be to, when in doubt, just go to your international students and
national student
scholars
service.
that
Yes.
most universities have. And it sounds like they are the best in the best position to guide you
Yeah,
towards whether or
exactly.
not that would apply. So I think that's super helpful. And I think that's a safe,
Yeah,
rule
working
book
with your
just going
university,
forward.
you can never go wrong with working with your
Absolutely. Yeah.
university.
Because I know they have
There are a lot of
official.
volunteer position out there, but I feel working with your university is way more safe because
Mhm.
they are a legit organization,
Absolutely. And they're
and
experts, they're immigration
they're the
experts
experts.
there
Yes.
that,
Yeah,
obviously that's their whole job.
yeah.
So that makes sense. Next, I want to, delve a little bit into almost the career that you've built for yourself around
Mhm.
a program manager. I'm very curious to learn how one can transition from an analyst role that you were, I guess, at first at PwC, you were a consultant, an associate, technically a technology
Yes.
associate, and I know that because I was the same position. But
Yes.
it sounds like from there you went to being an analyst, and at some point you were able to make that jump between analyst and program manager.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people that I've met that I speak with, and
Mhm.
honestly, me personally also, I'm not really familiar with really what it takes on a resume, but more importantly in your general profile or
Mhm.
knowledge base or skills that you can inculcate to make that jump between an analyst to a program manager. So how did you go about doing that? Was that something that just kind of fell in place for you, or was that something that you were mindfully constructing
Mhm.
or building towards?
I think I would say I was mindfully constructing that.
Hmm.
Uh, Started with taking the right electives.
Okay.
My Yeah, so I took a lot of MIS project management, business corporate
Mhm.
strategy, entrepreneurship for 101, and all these a little more business focused electives is what I decided
Okay.
to take, like system analysis and design, product design. So to have that product sense, so
Got it.
all human computer interaction where I got to design
Mhm.
different do
Systems.
customer, yeah, basically understand the customer, do customer
Yeah.
research, review and stuff. So I feel it started with me taking those electives and doing
Interesting.
projects in those for those courses. And these projects were what I have put on my resume and is what I talk about in interviews as well. So I feel if you want to make that jump, the first step would be to be mindful about the course that you're taking and the elective, the basically the path that you are carving out for yourself,
Hmm.
and it's decided by the electives you take. Then there's a lot of extracurricular activities that you can do at your university. I went to a lot of conferences where I met people who were working as product managers or program managers, or as even as project managers in different industry fields. So you can, having those conversation, you understand what is the expectation. Then I also went ahead and did a certification. I am a CSPO, certified Scrum product owner, and as
Got
well
it.
as I did a lot of certification from PMI as well, Project Management Institute.
Interesting. And
Yes.
was all of that just via self-study, or did you have help or coaching, or was it just all in your own free time, just by sheer will, so to speak?
So about CSPO, our professor, my system analysis and design professor, is the one who motivated us to do the certification. If you wanted to go in the project program management space, she was the one that motivated us to do that certification. And I was actually interested, so I decided why not.
Mhm.
I went and it's a $500 certification, but I felt it was worth it, and
Right.
I got certified in that. And even when you're learning for these certification, you get to network as well, because
Absolutely.
there's a
Mm.
lot of people that are doing the certification. You get to talk to them, even reach out to people on LinkedIn that already have that certification. So you basically build that mindset, and you're building your profile as well, because you have projects, you have certifications, you have a network to support you in the
Interesting.
in the transition. Yeah.
So on that note, something that comes to mind is I know there's
Hmm.
generally, at least from the people that I interact with or just from what I've seen, but
Uh-huh.
generally two schools of thought around how to go about academics in your graduate degree. So
Uh-huh.
the first school is essentially the people that are like, I'm just here to do the absolute bare minimum,
Minimum.
not have
Yeah.
to worry about
Hmm.
tough courses or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that will be a huge time sink, versus the other school is kind of what you laid out, where
Yeah.
people are very mindful about that's okay if it's hard or it will take a lot
Yes.
of my
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but I still want to do that because it has value. So it does sound like you're fairly set on the path that you went about, because clearly
Yeah.
it worked for you.
Yeah.
Are you willing to comment at all on whether the first path, I mean, is just useless, or do you think it might have some merit for some
Mhm.
people under some circumstances?
I know a lot of people who believe that it's just
Mhm.
you're doing this course just to get a job. Okay, so
Absolutely.
it's just the path that people are taking,
Right.
like, and it's they feel that it doesn't add value. But I feel those people all, because they feel that is because they already have that knowledge. I was not someone, I just came with 2 years of experience, and I did not have that kind of experience, and I wanted to build that, uh, have that, I mean, I wanted to have the expertise in a field, and I
Got it.
wanted to build that. So people who feel this is not this is just a way, is I feel have the expertise already, and they feel they don't need to build on it, and they feel
Mhm.
that this is not adding value for them. But
I see.
i I actually feel people who actually put in effort are people that feel this will add value to them, or
Interesting.
and
Hmm.
have lower years of experience, and then they are building their profile, and they're like very, I that's what my opinion would be. But
That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, people can, you cannot put in the effort and still get a good job, and
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. There's
you
no
have,
right way. Yeah. There's no
there's
one
the
way
right
to.
way. Yeah.
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 Totally. So I think what you're saying is that if you do not already have that, expertise or that well-rounded knowledge about the
Yeah.
stream that you're trying to break into, it
Mm-hmm.
does make a lot of sense to go out of your way to get, enroll in those hard courses,
Says
put
yeah.
in the grind and get
Mm-hmm.
through that, because you're saying it will give you value in one way or the other, be it in interviews or maybe later once you get that position,
Job. Yeah.
you will benefit from it. So don't shy away from that if you aren't already an expert, quote unquote, on those
Yes,
things,
yes. Or
which I think
you think
makes a
you're
lot
an
of sense to
expert, yeah.
me.
If you, yeah.
Absolutely. That
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense to me. So with that, I want to jump next into, just really a deep dive on the world of applying for jobs,
Mm-hmm.
be it within or outside of LinkedIn. Any strategies around, cold approaching people, be
Mm-hmm.
it via cold DMs on LinkedIn or cold emails, or basically, yeah, any, because it does sound like you have been doing a great job of managing to get interviews and, converting them, if I'm being honest. And what I'm hearing currently is that it's just a time in the US market, at least probably the world market, if we're being
Yeah.
honest, where it's just a really bad time, it sounds like, and people out there are just absolutely struggling to even get interviews, let alone, getting jobs. So,
Yeah.
what are some strategies or things that you did that worked for you? And probably we can start with, within LinkedIn first and then kind of
Mhm.
branch out from there.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. The market is really tough right now because I get so many DMs on LinkedIn right now. Like people, even my juniors, like they are
Mhm.
trying to find a job, and the market is really difficult for them. And but you just, I mean, I just want to say this: you just have to get that one job. Just there are like
Absolutely.
multiple jobs. You just have to get that
Absolutely.
one job.
Yep.
That's
You
your
just
aim.
needs to
Don't care
click
about anything.
once. Yep.
Just one. You have to get one job. That's it. Don't
That's
think
so
about
true.
what is happening.
That's so true.
Coming back, I feel what I started doing. I was not getting a lot of interviews in the initial
Mhm.
phase, like any
Okay.
other person,
Yeah.
because my approach was very one directional. It was very
Interesting.
narrow. I was just applying through LinkedIn, and even applying to applying to posting job posting that has been there for past, say, 10 days, I still
Okay.
apply. I feel it's not how you go about it. They have every in this current market, a job posting that has been out there for more than 3 days, there is no point in applying to a position like that, because they already have like thousands of applications, and they will not look at your application from a thousand people that have already applied. So it's always, in my experience, I feel it's always first come
Yeah.
first serve. So be proactive, apply early. As soon as you see the position, maybe set up subscribe to the companies that you want to get a job at. So whenever there's a new job posting, you get an email immediately, and you can go ahead and apply. So and even you can set up these email reminders on LinkedIn that will,
Yeah.
when there's a new opening, it will send you an email, and you can proactively apply. There's so many other emailing lists as well that you can subscribe to, that send you the position that has been opened, for example, by Exponent. And there are a lot of mailing lists out there which you can subscribe to get that, to be proactive and apply
But
early.
got it. And you're saying like time is really of the
Time is very
essential.
crucial. Yes, yes, I am
Interesting.
saying
Got
time
it.
is very crucial
Got it.
in
Got
the
it.
application. Then LinkedIn is not the only platform through which
Hmm?
you can apply. There is Indeed, and then there is just plain Google, where you can just go
Right.
and apply. There's Glassdoor, there's Smart Recruiter, there's so many other platforms where you can go and apply. And
Mhm.
app and it's not just about applications. There's
Okay.
the other thing
Okay.
is you can network. And I mean, everybody will vouch for the method that they were able to find a job through.
Absolutely.
But I feel when you're in this situation, this current market where people are struggling to get an interview, I feel try everything is the way to go about it.
Mm.
Do that. Don't be shy. Just go ahead and send that cold emails. All right, find people and send that cold email. Even on LinkedIn, you can get that premium subscription and
Hmm?
send those in
Personalized
yeah,
invites.
personalized emails to these people.
Yeah.
And just network a lot, because for Amazon as well, I had applied to the position, the same position, without a referral, and I did not get a call back. But as soon as I got that referral in place, that's how I got the interview. So
Um,
getting that referral can be very important, and at some places it can not be important as well.
yeah.
Maybe when you're waiting for that referral, the position is already closed, so there's no
Mhm.
point waiting for a referral when you can just apply. So you have
Mhm.
to try multiple different things, and listen, like, just talk to your seniors, your friends, about the approach that they're taking. And if you're not doing something, you can try doing that as well.
Got it.
keep,
Be ready
keep
to experiment
yeah,
and take
be
feedback,
be
essentially.
ready to
Apply
experiment.
the feedback that you're getting.
Yeah, yeah.
On that note, do you have any particular tips for people, especially around the networking aspect? Because personally, I've heard a few different approaches. So some
Mm-hmm.
people swear by the reach out to somebody without asking for something first
Mm-hmm.
off.
Yeah.
There's a different type of people, a person, or a school of thought essentially
Mm-hmm.
that says just be honest.
Yeah.
Like people likely know why you're reaching out, and
Yeah.
it's okay to just be like, "Hey, I'm really struggling. I would love it if you could refer me."
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
do you have a thought on which might be better for the general person? I suppose just any person.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking from my experience, and also the kind of messages that I like, is when people are being straightforward. I mean, I know why you're reaching out to me, right? Just
Mhm.
just ask for it. And I mean, when you ask for it, the other person is bound to give you something in return, right? If, like, closed mouths don't get fed, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
So I feel whenever I was straightforward in my conversation, because with chat gpt and everything, people can write hundred of emails, and everyone's
True.
inbox is full. Nobody is reading those big texts, where you're
Hmm.
trying to build a network just by not asking for it, but then later on trying slightly trying to get that point there, right?
Interesting.
In a through
Yeah.
coffee chat or something. I feel being straightforward and upfront about, okay, hi, whatever you're looking for, you be polite about it, but put whatever you're looking for out there, because you don't have that kind of time to
Right.
play that game. I feel this is, and I personally, now that I get so many emails and messages right now, I feel when people are directly send me what they're looking for, it's easier for me to, okay, you want this, okay, I will reply and I will respond to that. So that is
Got
a
it.
personal thing. I mean, people,
Absolutely. No, yeah. And I
yeah,
obviously, yeah, no two people react to the same
same
message in the
thing, yeah,
same way.
yeah,
But yeah, I just kind of wanted to get a sense on, your particular, like
yeah,
your thoughts
yeah,
specifically around this. So, but yeah, to recapitulate, it sounds like you're saying that authenticity really is what might, be the
yeah,
difference between kind of a cookie cutter, same copy paste
this,
template type
yeah,
message that you might send to somebody versus a more heartfelt, a more authentic, hey, I really
yeah,
have these skills, this is what I've done, it would mean the world if you could please
refer to me,
maybe share, refer me, or point me to the right person,
yeah,
or point me to the right position that might be suited more
yeah,
for my interests. So
yeah,
I think that's a really helpful tip. With that, I kind of quickly want to jump through the loop interview experience that you had at Amazon,
yeah.
because again, it's something that's almost infamous at this point. Like, a lot of people know it exists, and there seems to be a decent amount of misconceptions around what really goes on with it. I've heard some pretty scary anecdotes about it that may or may not be from actually people at Amazon. It sounds like there's just stories going around at this point. So, do you want to give us a quick run through on what that main 5 hour continuous loop, experience was like for you?
I
And I
mean,
think this
yeah,
applies specifically for the tech program manager positions,
yeah,
if I'm not wrong.
yes. I mean, the loop interview is like a marathon, and you have to. So for program manager at Amazon, they're very much focused on the leadership principle, and
Okay.
there is like multiple resources out there when you want to prepare for a loop,
Okay.
but there are like multiple YouTube videos. There's so many articles, books, everything you can find for the loop interview.
Mhm.
Uh, I will briefly tell you what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Amazon has these 16 leadership principles, and
Okay.
in these loop interviews, the people are already working with the team, and they're trying to find if you are a fit for Amazon, if you have those leadership principles embodied in you, and if you have worked in a similar direction. So every interviewer is given three or four leadership principles that they ask a question
Mm.
on. For example, customer obsession, and it'll be a question asked in the past, like what was your experience with doing something like this for your
Okay.
customer
So,
who.
like, behavioral type questions
Behavioral, yes,
almost.
yes, it is
Yeah.
definitely behavioral.
Okay.
And um, and then they try to drill you down on the experience that you're sharing. It's a very data set. They are looking for something in a very structured format, the star format, because that's what Amazon
Mm.
follows. So
Mhm.
a person needs to answer everything in a very structured manner, and using
Mhm.
a lot of insights and KPIs and matrix, because
Right. And for our
it's a very
listeners,
data centric company. Yeah.
yeah, and for our listeners, STAR is situation, task,
Action,
awareness.
action,
Sorry,
and
what? Action
result.
and result. Okay, there
Yeah.
you go. Can you say that one more time without me
Yes, it
butchering
is.
it?
STAR is situation, task, action, and result. So
Perfect.
basically, I feel that's how you prepare for other interviews as well, because it gives a lot of structure to your answer.
Mhm.
And personally, I like to add the L as well at the end, which is the
Okay.
learning. So
Oh,
that's a
okay.
personal thing I do, because it makes the answer well rounded for me,
Hmm.
because I am in the very very early phases of my career, so that learning is is something that puts me apart from other people. So
True. I think
that's
that makes a
my
lot of
that's
sense.
my personal thing that
Touch
I'm
to
doing.
it.
So
Yeah.
it's you can also use it, whoever wants to. It's cool. Yeah. So
Got it.
yeah, and then yeah, 5 hours. Every interviewer has a set of leadership principles they're going to ask you questions on, and
Mhm.
basically you cannot repeat any stories between all these
Hmm.
interviews. So you need to have around 32 32 unique stories that you should be prepared with, and you
Wow.
should be so much, you should know everything about the story, like about
Got it.
whatever you're saying. Who were your stakeholders, who were you working with, what were some of the that you faced in the project. If you say, for example, if you say you improved the tax compliances by 15%.
Hmm?
This is something I did at PwC. So you should know how you did that. How did this 15% came into picture?
Got
What
it.
went behind it? It's not just the number, but everything in getting to that number. You should know, you should have your bases cleared for these
Wow.
interviews. So yeah,
And
and
to prepare for that, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then you reference some resources. You mentioned that there's a lot out there. Is there
Mhm.
any that you remember that you personally benefited from around that, or like maybe a YouTube channel or somebody's blog or something that just comes to mind, if at all, that was especially helpful for you?
Mm-hmm. Two things that's on top of my head is
Hmm?
videos by Jeff Su. He
Okay.
is a program manager. He's a product marketing manager at Google, and he creates content.
Okay.
I feel his videos were amazing on star format,
Awesome.
on structuring your answers,
Mhm.
how you'd go about questions, and it really benefited me. And the second thing that I
Awesome.
went through was the course. There is this Amazon cracking the Amazon PM interview by Exponent,
Mhm.
and it's
Okay.
I subscribed to that and paid a little bit for that. It's not expensive. uh,
Okay.
they have a series of interviews for every leadership principle
Hmm.
from a real Amazonian. So that helped me a lot.
Okay.
And then a lot of resources was shared by my recruiter at Amazon. Those were
Oh,
the
okay.
resources that I
Wow. I had no idea that was a thing. That's
yes,
that's
that
so
was
nice.
yeah, that's really cool. And
Wow. Huh.
yeah, and then coming back to the networking thing, I did reach out to a lot of people who were currently working as a program manager at Amazon, and I was grateful that everybody, like a lot of people, like 3 or 4 people, were took my mock interview, and they guided
Wow.
me. Yeah, they guided me on how to structure my answers and what to expect in an interview. So yeah.
Wow. And I know when we were connecting off the record here, I think you mentioned that you've now started getting a lot of requests for mock interviews.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through how that whole thing came to be and your reasons for doing that? Just for our listeners.
Just like I said, when I reached out to people, they everybody helped me. So it is my paid forward moment, and because it was a difficult time for me, and everybody did help me. So I feel obliged to help people that are reaching out to me, and I I sometimes take them mock and help in the ways they want me to, like the questions they ask and the way they reach out to me. Yeah.
That's just so nice of you. And I will admit, I had no idea this was a thing at all on LinkedIn. And it
I
just
was not even
blows
expecting.
my mind in a very good way that
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
people out there, that will take time from their lives to
Yeah.
obviously out of their lives to help other people. And I think it's just amazing that, you're paying it forward. One last note on this whole,
Mhm.
little can of worms called job search is that do you have any resume tips for, I guess, not just program manager resumes, but just resumes in general? Because I think in your case, you were able to structure your entire resume around, that program manager,
Yes.
especially the e-commerce type of
Yeah.
industry
Yeah.
specific almost. So, what does somebody that doesn't really have from their past experience that streamlined, common unifying theme, which in
Mhm.
your case it was e-commerce? How does somebody like that go about tailoring their resume to tell a coherent story, if at all that's something that's possible, according to you?
I think it is. Whatever experience you have, it can be written in a way that even if you did something completely different, there would be parts of that project that would align you to the field that you want to transition into. Because if, uh, whenever you work at a company, you're not just doing one thing. There are multiple
Mhm.
things that you're doing, and you're part of multiple things. So find those unique points. Maybe that was not your main project, but that was something you were doing maybe
Yeah,
with the different team, or it was maybe a volunteer experience you were
Mhm.
doing with a different, maybe
Absolutely.
a POC, uh, like
Yeah.
the kind of POCs we did at PwC, right?
Mhm.
Where you guided us to do that. So you did. So there are so many other things that you're doing. So you can find multiple things from your experience that will make your resume a niche. I feel it is very important to have a niche, because when you're applying to multiple things,
Hmm.
nothing will come your way. It's better to have a niche. Like
Interesting.
at PwC, my client was PNG, so it was an ecom. Even my internship, it was electrical ecom.
Okay.
Rexel is a electrical distributor, and they had their e-commerce, and I was working for the e-commerce team. And over here at Amazon, I'm working at retail, so it's all e-commerce at
Interesting.
the end. But I'm not saying you need to make it industry specific, but
Mhm.
you can definitely make it. For example, if you're like applying for a product management role, maybe, or a program manager role, so look for things that the keywords that is expected in these resume, and you
Right.
will have a story about it, and try to have that in your resume. The other
Got
thing
it.
is making sure your resume is ATS compliant. Okay, so
Okay.
there are multiple tools where you can upload your resume and put the position name, and according to that they will give you what are the keywords that's missing from your resume, what are the keywords that is actually helping you. So
Okay.
LinkedIn used to have that feature where you could, on a premium LinkedIn,
Okay.
you can upload your resume and it gives you ATS insight. So, and there are a lot of free tools out there too, which you can use and see what are the keywords that are actually benefiting you. And if it's not, remove that, add something new. And I mean,
And so that's very interesting. And I personally actually didn't know this was a thing at all. Granted, I haven't been a LinkedIn premium user, so that's probably why. But so the way it works, you're saying is that you can match your resume for a program manager. So
yes.
for any program manager position, or does it like, is it specific to a certain company or for
No,
a particular
no, no.
posting? It's just
It's
all
it's a
program
broad
manager.
umbrella over here when you can write maybe an analyst position. So for
Uh-huh.
an analyst position, ATS has multiple keywords.
Hmm.
So, and based on that, your resume is filtered and checked for the keywords. If you have those high ranking keywords, like some keywords has more points over some other keywords, and if you have those keywords, it'll show you, okay, you have these many
Interesting.
keywords. And it will also, like, LinkedIn used to give me a lot of suggestions that these are the keywords that are
Mhm.
present in a person's resume who's applying for similar position. So you
Okay.
can use those keyword and tailor fit to your story, so making it
Okay.
more coherent.
I
Yeah.
see. I think that's pretty awesome, and I think there's a lot of value in there. Speaking of value, I suppose do you happen to be aware of any no cost or free tools that do a similar thing outside of LinkedIn Premium? All good if not. I just figured you
I,
might know any
I am
tools.
not aware of them, but I
Okay.
know because I had a LinkedIn Premium subscription, so
Okay. And
that's what
you
I've
it
used.
sounds like it,
But
yeah, it worked out well for you.
I'm sure if you search for it, there'll be a few free tool. Maybe it
Okay.
won't be that good, but it will serve the purpose. I mean,
I see. But I think the takeaway here is that it helps to rely on these systems that are built
yeah,
to get an insight into how your resume is featuring in the ATS site, because it does sound like it's almost a black box where you send your
yeah,
resume and then you have no idea what happens once it's there. You're just kind of praying for the best to hear back. So I
yeah.
think that's really helpful in that there are tools that can be used potentially, and perhaps I can do some research and add those to the show note captions
Mhm.
around what some of those free tools are, if at all they exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great tip on that. So I know we've
Also, you
covered a
can,
decent
I
amount.
feel one other
Sorry.
thing that, sorry to cut,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, no,
just adding
please.
to that, I feel that like you can take 10, maybe 10 job description, put it in a word cloud, and it will give you
Okay.
like 10 different keywords that is present in every resume. Well, like, sorry, not resume, in every
Interesting.
job description. So one, till the time that I did not know about this ATS tool on LinkedIn, that's what I did, because I was not,
Okay.
I took
Wow.
all the important job description, like the positions that I was applying to, put it in a word cloud. It
Yeah.
gives you the keywords, and you see, okay, these are the keywords that are there, and that is something you should have on your resume as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Wow. I think, yes, as somebody that's worked with word clouds before, for whatever reason, it never occurred to me that you could use that so creatively, but I think that makes a lot of sense. And there's definitely free word cloud tools
yes,
out there.
yeah,
A
yeah.
lot
There's
of
so
them,
many.
yeah, that I've personally used. So I think, yeah, that's probably a definitely, free of cost or low cost tool
Yeah.
that people can leverage to get insight into how their resumes are doing against ATS systems.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the meat of the discussion that I really wanted to cover. I do know that you recently heard the, I would say, good news that that your H1B was picked. I
Yeah.
just kind of truly, yay. But I did want to, I was curious as to how it feels really, because it sounds like just until 3 months ago you were, not in an ideal place in terms of
Yeah.
perhaps your goals that you had in mind when you, moved to the US for your master's, what you were hoping to achieve from a career standpoint. And then, yeah, just 3 months later, it sounds like everything's really turned on its head. So, how
Yeah.
does it feel? How have you been,
mean,
internalizing that or
I
dealing with that?
I mean, I have no words for it. I am actually really grateful. But yeah, in November, I was not even thinking. I was not even thinking about H1B or I mean, I was trying to do like get it in a better place. Like I was trying to get in a better place, and all of a sudden, I have everything. It feels like that.
Truly,
That
no,
that's
it
how
really
it feels.
is.
Yeah.
And
So
then
when it works out for you, it works out for you. So just keep
that's
pushing,
so
and
true.
you will get there. Is what I have
That's so true.
learned.
Some might even say the way to do that would to just ready set do. That's just
Yes,
a
ready
not
set do.
not subtle plug at all for
Yes.
my own podcast in my own podcast. So that's I didn't realize I could get any more dorkier than that. But really, the last question I have for you is what does the future look like? Do you have you thought about any near or long term plans? Or are you just more of a Rolling Stone type of I'll go where the wind takes me, marching to the beat of your own drum type person?
I don't, because I mean I have just got out of the stressful job hunting phase. So I am
Mhm.
just chilling right now. I am trying to settle in with the Seattle weather, and I am looking forward to Seattle summers basically. That's what I'm looking forward to right now. So that's
Mhm.
my future plan.
Yeah, I have heard good things about the summer, and yeah,
Yes, I
hopefully,
have heard it's very beautiful. So I am looking forward to.
yeah, and hopefully not as rainy and gloomy and cloudy as
Yeah.
it can be. Hopefully. So, but yeah, I think that brings us to the end of our chat here. I once again, I'm so grateful that you took out the time to meet with me today and to go over these things that hopefully a lot of people out there will benefit from. Did you have any parting remarks at all to close us out here?
Yeah. One thing that when we were discussing it yesterday, one thing that really stood out to me was that I would be that if this podcast helps us just one person as well, that's good for me. So I believe, I feel your idea is really cool, and thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And perhaps I can have you again in a few months to go over what life is like, as a Amazon
Yeah.
program manager. So yeah, really looking forward to that. But until then, yeah, I hope you have a great, start to your new job here in Seattle and Amazon.
Yeah, thank you, and all the best with your podcast.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of the second episode of the Ready Set Do podcast. I decided to upload the full video and not just the audio on YouTube in response to the widespread feedback that I received. I hope this discussion was helpful for you. If it was, please consider subscribing to my channel. I have a lot of conversations planned with a wide variety of guests that have been doing really cool things. As an update, I will be releasing a new episode every Wednesday. That is all I had for now. So until next time, ready, set, do.